Hey there, Chad here. Thanks for joining me. I'm checking out something new today, and I wanted to put something together for folks that might not have seen this game. It is called Barotrauma, and it is a sci-fi horror game. This is way outside of my wheelhouse, but somebody playing astronauts recommended it, and I gave it a look, and I kind of like the game. I'm just not very good at it. But what I did notice is it kind of has a really steep entry curve. I'm not even going to call it a learning curve. Understanding what the game is doing from the get-go is a little confusing. So I wanted to put something together that's going to help you get through your first 30 minutes to an hour of the game if you decide to give it a try. I think there's a lot of good game here, and I'm enjoying it. I'm just not good at it, so please don't expect to see how to beat, the boss monsters or anything like that here. Now, the game is sci-fi and horror, I would say. The idea is you are on a submarine on one of the moons of Jupiter. There's water down there, and there's also creatures, and we are basically looking for resources in that under the surface. It is very much a roguelike. You want to move from one side of the map to the other to win the game. And we'll kind of take a look at that. But before even getting that far into it, this is one of those games where it's not a bad idea to look at the tutorial. So I'm going to hit training here just to show you kind of what that looks like. And I'm going to just say start, and we will indeed get started. Now it'll take just a moment to load up here. You play as basically a crew of a submarine, and you basically start as the captain is the idea, and you have a couple of people working for you. But in the training, you're just a scrub, and they're going to show you a few things. And I should take a moment to point out that I said the game is something you play as a crew. That's if you're playing solo, but the game actually supports multiplayer where you can connect with friends, and each one can have a specific role as a crew member on the submarine, and you're more than welcome to play that way. I don't tend to do tutorials on games that are multiplayer because that's really difficult to coordinate, but that is a possibility in how you can play this game, and that is actually a major draw for a lot of people. Now, we're not going to go through the entire training module. We're only going to do the beginning that gives you like the real simple basics, so I can show a couple of ideas of how the game works. Don't love the writing. No offense to the people who wrote it. It's just this is outside of my normal genre of games that I would play, but it does have some interesting mechanics, and I'm liking that part of it. But we wake up in a cryo chamber room or something like that, a rehabilitation chamber, and we don't remember anything, and they're going to teach us how to do stuff. We have medical bills that have to be paid, and that is the reason we're doing this very dangerous work that we probably won't survive. But ASWD are your controls. There's no up and down right now because I don't have anywhere to go up and down. And this is kind of confusing, but basically your mouse cursor is where you're looking. You'll notice the character changes to face the mouse. So you can move backwards and forwards at the same speed with regards to your orientation to where the mouse is pointing. To interact with things, you tend to click them. So we're going to click this button, and that opens that door. We're going to go through the door. This is a vending machine, and just for fun, you'll notice there's a message down there in the middle center of the screen. It's kind of small font. It says to pick up an item, point at it with the cursor, and use left mouse. So we're just going to point at the ID card, and we now have an ID card. Allows limited access to areas of the sub. Outstanding. We're going to go through another door. Now here's where AS and WS really will come into play. If I continue to go right, I'll continue to go straight there, but I want to go down, so I have to S and D at the same time will take me down the stairs. And again, going left, right, and I can do left and up, and that'll take me up the stairs, and there you go. So that's the basics, and then we're going to come to this button. Now, the game has various roles. There's the medical role, the engineering role, the mechanic role, and the captain role. There's an assistant role. I think that's all of them. What we're going to learn here is how the mechanic works, and this might be like an electrical engineer. I think that's kind of the same guy. So we're going to get a screwdriver. We double click on things to open it, and I'm using escape to close things. Then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit 2 because that's where it put the screwdriver. I can click on it. I'm going to use the keyboard, And I now have the screwdriver, and I'm just going to click here, and it wants me to repair it. Click repair. The way this appears to work is it'll kind of, this is, my ability will need to fall into a range in order to be successful. Looks like I'm successful this time. Well done. Wait for the pump to drain the room. So you'll notice that over here, this room is draining. So this is like a junction box, and we needed to rewire it or fix something in there. There's some cool things in this game, like the ability to change the outputs of junctions. That's way advanced for what this tutorial is going to cover, but this is some of the really neat stuff this game does that I'm really jazzed about. Okay, we're going to come through the doorway here, and here's that pump, and through another doorway. Now, you'll notice that we hear some water running, and it's pretty good stereo. If you've got stereo on, I think I'm recording this in stereo. You should hear it go from my right ear, because it's on the right side of me, to my left ear. That's pretty awesome. We are going to click on these, and we're going to pick up the equipment that we need. So that was the welder, and then this is the welding fuel, basically. And we'll double-click a couple of those, and it puts us down here on our taskbar. I think we can stack those, maybe not. Okay, this is our inventory. This is all we get, so that's something to keep in mind. And then it says double-click on an item to equip it. Okay, whoops. I guess that's what it meant for me to do, and I'm going to hit 3 to put it in my hands. Drag a welding fuel tank onto the welding tool to insert it. So I'm just going to click drag and drop on 3, and now there's fuel in there, and we kind of see it when we hover over it. Screwdriver doesn't need fuel. This guy does. So there we have it. I'm going to hit escape. Also, these menus down here, you close those up by hitting E, but use W and S while near a ladder to go up or down, and that makes some sense, right? That's what we often do in these games. So I'm going to climb down here, and then I'm going to go over here. And I'm going to right click to aim, and I'm going to left click to use. And that was it. We fixed that leak. The water is subsiding, and the water is now gone. We're going to go down, and there I jumped down. I did not use the ladder. And if you go too far, you can get hurt and break legs and things like that. There is the ability to speed up your character by holding shift. So if I like shift click, I'll go way down. We don't want to go that far down just yet. But here we are, and now next it wants us to put on a diving suit. So we're going to click here, double click the diving suit, but we don't have any oxygen in the suit, so we got to hurry up and get one of these and put it in the diving suit. And now we have oxygen. So we'll go ahead and pick up a second one. I'm going to move these over here. And I don't know if can you put these like, nope, okay. It'll only hold one at a time. You can get like a backpack that'll allow you to carry a few extra things, or a tool belt or something like that. So we have the welder, and we have diving suit. So now we can go in the water, and we don't have to worry about holding our breath. You can't go in the water without a diving suit, but you will, well, you'll drown. So eventually anyway. Right. So this is a sensor to pick up if there's water in here. And what this pump should be doing is if it detects water, it should pump it out. But the pump's broken. And as you'll see, it says to find a wrench. Well, there's going to be a wrench in this cabinet. There it is. Double click on the wrench. Hit 4. The wrench is now in hand. I don't love how you move around when you're swimming. You kind of can do loops and things like that pretty easily. But we're going to come here, click on the pump, and repair it. And there we go. And as you can see, the water is subsiding as we fix the pump, continuing to fix it. And the pump is now fixed. The water is out of the room. We can move forward. We'll go through here. There's another pump, and it says to left click it to interact with it. Now what it wants us to do here, this is kind of interesting. We're going to learn that a pump can work in both directions. You can pump water out like we just did over here, or you can pump water in. And in this case, we're going to pump water in because we want to get to this ladder so that we can climb up, but we can't reach the ladder yet because there's no jumping. But now that we're swimming a little bit, we should be able to find that ladder, and we'll start climbing. There it is. So now we're climbing up the ladder. There we go. And it looks like the pump knows to turn off when it gets to here. That's great. So we'll move here, and then we'll open this door. This is all just the tutorial, folks. This is the first stage of the tutorial. And we're going to come to this room. It's going to give us a little bit more lore here. I'm not going to read that, but basically, what's a mud raptor? Well, hold on a second. I see additional movement on camera. Uh-oh. What's that noise? Well, it's a mud raptor. That's a mud raptor, and we would be dead now. But this was just a tutorial, so it ends the scene there. Now we can continue on with the roles tutorial, or we can go to the main menu. I'm going to hit the roles tutorial just to show it to you real quick, and but we're not going to go through it. Okay, so here we are, and we're talking to this appropriations guy, I guess. Hey, how's it floating? Papers sign on to a submarine. That's right. We can skip the tutorial too, by the way, from the screen. But I do recommend going through at least a couple of them. Okay, such enthusiasm. Are you familiar with the courses we offer? Know what courses? And, you know, this is basically what you're doing. You're bashing your own program. Yeah, like I said, not a huge fan of the writing, but it serves a purpose. The game is not about the writing. This isn't like Vagris, which is pretty much all about the writing. It's a nice little RPG that I might do a video on sometime. It's fun to play. Anyway, we're going to work through here. Basically, it wants us to come in here, and we pick who we want to work as. So we hit C to toggle that list up there in the upper left corner. And if you want to be the medic trainee, if you want to do security, mechanic, engineer, or captain, when you click on those, it will change you to that particular role. As you can see, I'm now controlling the engineer, and then you go through here to continue your training, and it'll send you down to the engineering level to learn what you're going to do. Highly recommend doing that before you move forward with the game, because there are a couple of nuances about a couple of the roles and how they work. But for the most part, they work in a pretty classic way for video games. You can figure it out without doing the tutorials, but it only takes about 15 minutes total to do all five of them there. They're very, very quick. Okay, so we're going to go back to the main menu. I am totally okay with losing my tutorial progress. And now we're going to start a new game. And a new game, again, there's some things that just don't make a lot of sense because the tutorial doesn't cover them, and it just kind of throws you to the wild. So again, this video is meant to kind of get you through your first 30 minutes or so of actually playing the game. So we can give it a save name, and I'm going to call mine Mo Chad, because why wouldn't I? And we can give it a map seed. Use whatever you like. This allows you to basically have the same starting parameters from the random number generator. It's a procedural build of the world that we're going to see. Just because it's fun and it's easy for me to remember, I'm going to use MoChat and hit enter. There we go. Select a submarine. We'll go ahead and allow ourselves to select any of the submarines, either vanilla or custom. I'm going to only be using vanilla really, but we'll leave all on. But before we continue here, let's go down to settings. To follow along with me exactly the same way, you will want to have chosen MoChat as your map seed, and then for your presets, leave enable tutorial on. I've got the radiation turned off. I'm not actually 100% sure. Yeah, as you move across the map, the radiation becomes more intense is what I think happens there. Starting supplies and starting balance, both at high. I'm using 2 missions per round. I think that's enough for me, at least initially, and I'm leaving all the multipliers alone, but I am turning the world hostility down to low. This game is pretty hard, and I am not the guy who's going to play something on the insane mode and try to work my way through it. I don't enjoy that. I like the mechanics of how games work. If it's too simple, I'll bump it up. This game is not too simple on its own. On medium, it's pretty difficult. I'm going to low just to make it a little more balanced for trying to do a tutorial, and my first playthrough I did on low as well. So, well, I should say my first attempt at a playthrough I did on low as well. I've not played all the way through to the right side of the map. Leaving the crew numbers alone, just at 1, I am turning down the security inspection probability. Now, here's what this will impact. There will be stuff lying around the map, and you can pick it up. When you're in a station, you're basically stealing the stuff if you do that. I don't tend to do that. I've found that making a little bit of money early on isn't that hard. I can usually afford what I need to get. If you turn that on and if you steal things, there is a security officer that will go around and frequently stop you to frisk you down and make sure you don't have any stolen items on you. And if they catch you with stolen items, you're in trouble. I don't tend to steal the items, so what this does is it decreases the number of times they stop me to frisk me. I got a little tired in my first couple of attempts to play the game of the frequency of the frisks on the one station. It was like constant. Every room I went into, the guy was following me, and he would frisk me in every room, and I just didn't enjoy that. So I've got it turned down to low. If you are stealing things, they will check on you less frequently if that's what you're doing. And then the husk infection warning, we're going to leave that on. Okay, then we have different submarines we can select, but our starting funds is 10,000 marks. And we have to buy a submarine, otherwise we can't play. That's why these are grayed out, can't get to them. We can only afford these. I'm going to go with this one. It is the nice middling sub. There are 3 types of subs. There's attack, scouting, and transport. Transport is great if you're doing the missions where you're supposed to move goods. Scout is a good in-between, and the attack one is more about, well, it tells you here, shooting things out of the water. So I'm going to go with this one, and we're going to say next, and that's going to start the character generator. You start with 3 characters. You've got your captain, you'll have an engineer, and a mechanic. You can hire some other roles as well. As we saw, there were 5 roles that you could train. I do recommend naming these because it makes it a little easier to identify them when you see their names pop up. You'll kind of have an idea of what they do. Just for fun, we're going to call this guy Ahab because he's the captain. We're going to call the engineer, I'm going to go with Scotty from Star Trek fame, and mechanic, I think I'm going to go with also from Star Trek fame, and he was an engineer too, but because it's alliterative, we're going to go with Miles. So Miles is my mechanic, Scotty is my engineer. Miles is also female, we can change that. You can change this however you'd like. You can give them different hair colors and things like that. Feel free to customize to your heart's content. I will say this, we don't tend to see their faces close up. This is rendered in the game, but it's more the size of one of these die than it is this size when we're seeing them. So that's just something to keep in mind. It may make sense to give them like starkly different colored hair to make it a little easier to see who's where. Maybe that's not such a bad idea. Yeah, we'll do that. And then I'm going to hit start. Now, the tutorial did not cover every last thing of starting a new game, and as you can see, the map is not generated. We'll hit space. It does take you through some lore of the world. I am not going to read these. I'm only going to pause on them long enough for you to pause and read them if you choose. Otherwise, we're just going to move through them. So we have habitable outposts here. Basically, this is sci-fi and horror. What we are we're under the ice shelves of one of the moons of Jupiter in water, and there are terrifying creatures here with us. Okay, so here's where we start when we have the tutorial turned on. I will show you where you start if you do not have the tutorial turned on. The main difference is this little checklist up here of things to do won't show up, but also this isn't very intuitive of what it means. So we're going to cover that real quick. Now, my captain is right here. As you can see, when I move my mouse to either side, he turns. And, oh, we've got a conversation going on. Why won't he let me move? So Scotty has come up to us and is talking to us. It looks like we're old buddies with Scotty. And we'll read through this. Finally, a chance to get off the station. I feel like there must be some catch. Well, the catch is very few submariners survive on this planet. So that's really the rub. We're transferring money so that we can get going, and there Scotty goes, and now I can move around. Okay, so just a quick rundown of the ship. This is our bridge. This is the reactor where Scotty will be spending a lot of his time. This is the weapons room. We can grab a gun. There you have it. We literally will shoot just like that. I'm going to back out of there. We do have to load ammo when we do that. This button doesn't get a lot of coverage, but what it is it's effectively an electrical pulse that goes across the skin of the submarine. So when there's creatures on the submarine, it'll electrocute them. A lot of times it'll just stun them, but it does knock them off. They stop trying to eat into your hull. Also, this game is very fast-paced. That's one of the reasons I'm not terribly good at it. I just don't have those kinds of reflexes anymore. This is a third gun station, by the way, that we do not currently have installed on our sub. Okay, moving on. What we need to do is it wants us to find a way to make money, get supplies, and leave the station. I'm going to show you how to do these things, and we will run our first mission. We're going to go through here, this door and into here. Now, this is the dive room, basically. This is where the dive suits are. And as we go up, this is where we get out of the sub into water. So I'm going to climb this ladder, and this hatch is closed. We will open it. And I'm going to leave it open since I'm out here. I'm going to open this door. If we look in here, there's some supplies like plasma cutters and things like that. Flashlight, some diving masks. So good to know about those things. And we're going to open this. Now, this is effectively the airlock. I'm going to go ahead and leave it open because I do not intend to go outside right now. But if I push this button, water will come flooding in, and I will drown if I don't get out. So that is something important to know. Just pressing this button will open the door and water comes gushing in. We're going to climb. And basically what we're doing is climbing up to the station where the station is attached. This door also, in fact, both of them, I believe. I'm not going to do it. I'm pretty sure it's water on both sides of those as well. We don't want to mess with that. We're going to climb up here, and that hatch auto-opened for us as we approached. I'm guessing it might auto-close. Yep, there it goes. This is the room when you have multiple subs. This is where you select which one you're using. So that's just something to be aware of. And this is also, if you have the tutorial turned off, this is the room you initially spawn into. So your submarine is below you and the station is effectively above you at that point. This is a junction box, and we can affect the junction boxes in that on the station. Actually, maybe we can't. It looks like we can look at it. I don't have a tool to do anything with it, so that could be some of it. Now, what we need to do, find a way to make money. So we need to go and talk to somebody, and I think it's this person here. Part of the game is a puzzle and figuring out how to get to different places on the subs. So Serena Flowers, this is somebody who will help with, oops, the door was already open. Some of the fabricator and the deconstructor you can use. I'm not sure who Brandy is, but this is kind of the extent of this station. This station is not terribly large. Some of them are pretty big. And we're going to go ahead and go up this ladder. We have to open that door. And let's go ahead and talk to Boyce. So we're going to that door was open too. Oh, what did I hit character and I accidentally jumped to the next guy. There we go. So we're going to come over here and talk to Bryce. Now, when we come close to Bryce, we see E will trade with Bryce. And I kind of knew what Bryce was about because he has this little icon that has a shopping cart. So he's one of the folks we want to talk to about goods. Walk up to him and we'll hit E, and we can buy fuel rods from him, and we can buy welding fuel from him. Interestingly enough, those two things are on our shopping list, fuel rods and welding fuel. And we do have enough to get started. We have 10 fuel rods and we have 7 welding fuels, so we're only going to buy one of each of those. And we're going to do a purchase. Here's one of the first things that isn't crystal clear what it does. If I get the items now, what that physically does is puts the items in my inventory. I want to deliver these to the sub. and I'm going to let the crew work with them. So the crew will take care of moving that stuff around when we get back there and we issue some orders. But you'll notice that those 2 check boxes are now filled out, so we are done getting supplies for the submarine. Now we just need to find a way to make money. What we're going to do is we come up to this guy, and it's the person who has the 3 dots. Basically means they have something they want to talk about, and we're going to talk with them, and they're going to tell us about some jobs. We've sold some basic construction materials to the neighboring outpost, but delivery is on us. Simple transport job, perfect for a new crew like yourselves. What do you say? And we can click that to make it go away. We can also press E to make these windows go away. Mission unlocked, pardon me. Mining outpost material transport. So that's probably the one we'll end up selecting. I'm going to hit E this time, and you can see that went away. Now, find a way to make money. Well, that's all that needed us to do. But I do want to point this out. When you go to other stations, when you talk to this person and they're telling you about the jobs, there's usually 2 to 4 jobs that I've seen available, and you kind of have to hit E to end each one, and then it'll tell you about the next one, and you have to hit E to end that one and the next one, E to end that one and the next one. So just be aware of that. It works a little differently than you might think. And I'm going to slide down the ladder here. If I hold shift, I can move faster, and I can like slide. And I think we did talk about in when we were doing the tutorial that you can also fall through these holes if you're not careful, and you can injure yourself. 1 floor won't injure you, but if I do it from here, I will probably break a leg or something. So we want to be very careful about that. And I'm not going to worry about those airlocks. We are going to close this now, though, because we're getting ready to depart. Might as well make sure we're sub-safe. And we will open this, close that, and there we go. Okay, now the only thing left for us to do is to leave our station. Well, that's not entirely true. You'll notice at the top center of the screen it says select mission and leave, I guess, Anid. Anid is the station we are currently at. So this is actually a button, and what I will do is when I click this, it opens the missions that are available. This is our map. This is all we can see of our map so far, and the different symbols have things they mean. You'll notice that there's some breaking news happening here. I haven't seen where this is terribly influential over what's going on. There may be some sort of relationship between the stuff and what we see on the map, and maybe what it's maybe pushing us to do next. I'm not sure. Basically, we don't have options from this spot. The only place we can go is Ocean. Okay, and it looks like we might have, nope, this is it. It's just, this is the only place we can get. Scotty's is another node away, so we can't get there. Once we get here, we'll have options. We'll be able to go to Libya, or we will be able to go to Scaldi's, and like once you're down here, you've got a whole lot of options to make. These are beacons that are not currently active, and we can turn these on, and it gives us some bonuses if we do that. There is not one in our first little stint here. So we can select up to 2 missions. That was one of the things in the settings that I chose. We only have one to pick from, though, and we're going to pick it. Mining outpost material. So the reward is 200 marks by up to 8 crates. Well, okay, we can carry 8 crates because of the sub we have. They actually are willing to transport up to 25. We just don't have enough space for that. So we could have made as much as 5,000 marks on this particular journey, but we're only going to be able to make 1,600. We will gain reputation with the coalition and lose it with the separatists. Now, there's factions in the game, and you do kind of want to pay attention to that. I have not gotten deep into how the factions interact and work, but these tend to be opposites. There's also some religious fanatics in the game. There's clowns in the game. That's not a joke. And I feel like, oh, there's creatures that are like half human that are in the game as well, and that's kind of interesting too. And I think it's like supposed to be almost like zombieism with where it's a disease where they convert. We're going to go ahead and start. And it gives us a little bit of information about our crew and our reputation with these different factions. So there's the Europa Coalition, the Jovian Separatists, the Church of Husk, the Children of the Honk Mother. I'll let you figure out which ones are the clowns and which ones are the half-humans. So gives us a summary of the mission, and then here we are. We are in cold caverns, and we are on our ship. First thing I want to do, we have a set of orders here. Set orders for your crew. Well, this is very helpful because that is what we need to do. To set orders for your crew, I'm trying to remember if I programmed a new button for that. I guess I did not. You click your middle mouse button is what it is. So for me, that's a scroll button. That's kind of awkward. I don't really love that, but it gets the job done. So the first thing I'm going to do is power up the reactor. To power up the reactor, we're going to say operate the reactor, power it on. Now the system, if I just left click, it'll quick assign the person that makes the most sense. And it should be Scotty. And there you can see it gave Scotty an order. We can give up to 3 orders. They do the first one to the left as the primary, and they will do other things as we give them to them. Then secondly, we need to fix leaks. Mike is our mechanic, so we're going to tell him maintenance, and we're going to tell him to fix leaks. He will fix leaks that come about. Checkbox. Repair electrical devices. We're also going to assign that to Scotty. Actually, you know what? I think we should assign that to, to Miles. I think we should assign it to Scotty, though. Damaged systems, repair mechanisms, electrical systems. So we're going to right-click this time, and it allows us to pick who we're going to assign. And we are going to assign Scotty to that. Now you'll notice it put that over operating the reactor. And I think that's okay. When there's an electrical failure, he probably needs to take care of that. Getting back to the reactor, while the reactor is important and critical, he can step away from it for a little bit to fix things like electronics. Next is mechanical devices. We'll assign that to Miles. And I think that's this one. And then finally, operate a turret. Well, there are no other folks right now. Now we could assign it to one of them for yet another task to do. I guess maybe we'll go ahead and give that to Miles. The problem is, if I assign that to Miles, it immediately makes it his primary job. I'm going to give him the coil gun that's up here. We have one above and to the left, and we have a gun that is below. We'll go ahead and assign that to Miles. And let's take a second to talk about how these orders work. So if you look at this, it makes it look like I'm assigning these things for each of these people to do, and then they have a series of things that they are assigned to. And I don't think that's actually how it works based on the actual documentation for the game. It's a little confusing, but you have 3 presets for any particular person that you can click on to assign to them at this point. Now, the crew members are smart. They will do things that make sense on their own. You don't have to assign them anything, but they're not necessarily as efficient as you need them to be when they do that. When you assign them a task, if it requires a tool and they don't have the tool, they'll go find the tool. If it is in a container or if it's sitting out in the open, they will not take a tool off of somebody else. And it is possible to mark some things as ignored, meaning the characters other than yourself won't touch them, but that's kind of advanced. We'll not worry about that right now. Every order you give has a priority. Most of the things that are what you would consider emergency are set to priority 90, and then the things that are lower level, like operating the reactor, are set to 10. And there are a few things that are at other levels, but that's effectively what it is. And you can preemptively assign orders. So if I assign an order to fight a fire and there is no fire, the crewmate will mention that there is no fire, but until I give them something else, they'll kind of wait to fight a fire when one occurs. Again, they'll also do this on their own, even without an order at times, but it kind of gives them the thing that they're going to do next. So when we set these tasks here, it puts those buttons up there That's basically so that we can quickly access those on each of those people. So if we know we have pipes and electric that need to be worked, I can click on those really quickly and I can prioritize which one I want them to do before the other. My sense is that in general, if you've given them an order previously and it's on that list, they're more likely to do it than somebody else going and doing it if it needs to be done. But I don't know that there's any actual truth to how that might work is with regards to that. All of that to say, you can preemptively give orders and they'll wait around and do something. They will do things on their own, even if you don't order them to. And there are a few things that they'll do because they need to do them in order to finish something. When you assign Miles to the turret, though, from what I've seen, he will sit at the turret and that is all he will do, even if the ship is sinking. Now, I could be misremembering that, but it seems to me when I've had the game end, it's been because somebody was locked into a task that I didn't expect them to be stuck in, and that had been problematic. So that might be something to try out yourself, and your mileage may vary. Okay, we've done all those things. Now we have to move the submarine, activate the sonar, and dock at the next station. But as this video has already gone over 35 minutes, I'm going to make a second video that starts there. So this video was about kind of getting prepared and getting started, learning how to give orders, how to kind of read that tutorial list and what to do there. And in the next episode, we'll do some ship navigation. We'll get to the next station and we'll see what arriving at a station looks like and the different tasks you have to do and who you can meet there. We'll also hire a crew member and a couple of other things there. So thanks for joining me. Looking forward to continuing with teaching a little bit more about this game. It is a ton of fun. I hope you'll follow along and maybe look at picking it up. Again, this is Barotrauma. It's been out for a few years, but it is a very fun game. So thanks for your time this time, and until next time, fair travels.